The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome in to My State of Mind. This is an original show. We are back on the air by hook or by crook. I think by now you've become pretty used to Zoom events on television or whatever kind of format you've seen. Studios have been thrown by the wayside, at least for a temporary period of time, and it's just nice that we've been able to figure this whole thing out. You know, our home building is experiencing social distancing, and the folks here at WPRI 12 have been doing such an incredible job getting you all the information you can get. We've been offering commentary at WPRI.com on a nightly basis, and that will continue for a little bit of time. But of course, you catch this show not only here at 7:30 at MyRI TV and Fox Providence at midnight, but on WPRI.com. So we'll see how that goes in terms of what content we can deliver to you. But it is just a pleasure to, yes, from the home office, to be offering you our first original broadcast since we had to go bye-bye and hit the repeat button with this COVID-19 crisis. Coming up, our first guest of the week will be Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee, who has been doing a significant amount of work on the small business side of things. We'll talk about that, some of the challenges that small business have, and this communication thing, which I think, notwithstanding the governor's really great work with the Department of Health on the virus itself, has been sorely lacking when it comes to things like business. And welcome into My State of Mind. Dan McKee, our Lieutenant Governor, is our guest, and it's great to be back, as I said at the top, with an original program here. And you know, one day at a time. The whole COVID-19 experience, I think, has just been one day at a time. Dan, I'm sure you feel the same way. It's been incredible. You never spent.
So the lifetime experience we don't want to repeat, and we want to get ahead of this thing as quickly as we can.
Look, I think there are so many questions that I could fire at you over the course of the broadcast here, but I think we should start with what I think is a productive thing that's been coming out of the Lieutenant Governor's office, and that is your effort to really attack two concepts here. One, the small business community, and the other is the Latino community. And I don't mean attacking the Latino community, but
Yep.
the challenges that we have here. We'll talk about your communication with the governor and some things that you have, I don't know, not learned, but kind of reinforced in your mind in terms of constitutional electable issues, meaning governor and lieutenant governor. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then we'll actually talk about some of the test cases that we've been talking about on the radio here within.
Yes.
But you have done some stellar work, I think, on the small business challenge here. And since the onset now, literally for almost a couple of months, you've been having a twice weekly conference call, which has grown into Facebook. Tell me what your approach was there.
Yeah, so I had anticipated, Dan, actually, that I was, the governor's office had indicated that I was going to really head up the small business issues for about 24 hours. So I got to work right away. And then when that didn't materialize, I just took it on our office ourselves, because I chair the Small Business Advocacy Council, just to go all in helping our small businesses. So we immediately started with phone calls, and we were able to start using this technology and starting to get a little shaky in the beginning, but we were able to get a handful of businesses on one call on a Friday afternoon 7 weeks ago, or whatever it was. And then from that call, I shared my cell phone number. People called me up. They wanted to help out. I consider this extraordinary. I don't think I've ever seen this happen before, and I think it's a response to an extraordinary time. But we've got 3 businesses right now, and you've interviewed some of them on your radio show with Justin, Laurie, and Chris with their businesses. Put together a small business portal with our office, which we're working with them every day, to rismallbusiness.org. They've registered over 1,000 businesses there. People are doing business. Gift certificates are going, certainly being able to be bought on that site. No charge to the businesses to be on that site. And now they're brainstorming their imagination in terms of like pushing it forward and saying, okay, now what do we do now? We're into reopening. So now we're resetting that same site, doing all the things we were doing before, with allowing people to buy in advance their services or their retail, whatever it is. And now they're transitioning into, what are we going to do now?
That website is rismallbusiness.org, correct?
It's unbelievable. Yes.
So what began as your thought process and some great volunteer benevolent efforts on the part of like a threesome of people that you've got going there. rismallbusiness.org started as a couple of businesses and, hey, buy a gift certificate for them if you can. And it's exploded now to hundreds of businesses, thousands of transactions. Summarize for me real quick what's going on that website.
Yeah, over 100,000 visits to that site right now. There's been over $100,000 of in-kind contributions coming from Lamar Sign, Cox Cable, one of the TV stations. So they're all in trying to help these small businesses. And now what we're doing every Tuesday and Friday, we're giving an update on that site so people can understand what is possible for them to get involved in. And now we're doing the Tuesday, Friday calls virtually. We're hitting thousands of people right now with this whole message. But I think that centered on the effort, and that's like a linchpin, I think, of our effort, is that rismallbusiness.org. Not only has it helped us in the transition, in terms of when we weren't reopening, the reopening strategy, we've used that as a vehicle to have the SBA, Mark Haywood on, DLT's office on, with Chris on there, and also DBR with other people that are giving really strong, important information. I just got off a call with the Providence Rotary, and 5 of them said they've been on the calls and they've been tremendously helped by our efforts. And then also we let them plug into us individually, so we're walking individuals through this time with the loan. So I think that the thing that really has solidified that effort, has made it credible, is the effort on the rismallbusiness.org, because we're trying to help our small businesses.
Dan, what do you think is, and I only have a minute or two for this segment, so we'll expand in the second segment, but what do you think is the number one or two things that are commonly coming out of the small business community in the help me fashion? I mean, clearly it was the PPP and the unemployment juxtaposition. Has that been generally it?
It's just transition, Dan. So now it's more, how do I got the PPP now, how do I manage it, make sure it's forgivable? Mark Haywood's very instrumental in that. The DLT, because the fact that we've had 47,000 sole proprietors or independent contractors or gig economy employees who never qualify for unemployment. They're one of the 200,000 people who have applied for that. So that's still definitely a work in progress with people, and we're helping them every day with that. So I think that they're still transitioning on those things. And now it's getting into the reopening thing. And I've been saying, look, we're going to reopen. We're going to still have the virus, and we've got to find ways to be flexible when we reopen. And I think that that's one of the things that we're trying to inject into the conversation. We're doing it from a distance. As my last call, I said, I had the Hamilton T-shirt on. It was said, I want to be in the room where it happens. It's difficult for the Lieutenant Governor to get into the room where it happens, but I can tell you what we've done here on this call and on this work that you just described has got us into a spot where what we're doing matters, and it's impacting what's in the room that's happening.
That thought will develop more. We'll be back with Dan McKee, our Lieutenant Governor. Back into my state of mind, fresh programming. It's a unique way of doing business. I will tell you this, I'm saving on gas. But other than that, it has been a stressful thing for old men like me and Dan, who are trying to figure out platforms to get shows and radio shows. And he gets all excited. Oh, hey, I'm going from a conference call to a Facebook page, blah, 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 blah. But, there's a lot of lessons that are going to be learned by small business.
Sure.
And Lieutenant Governor, I'm sure with all your interaction with the small businesses, you are seeing that. I mean, I know that things are going to be changing for me in my business on both the radio, based on this experience. What are you hearing from small business that actually is an opportunity here?
So you got two things that are happening. I think that some people are still thinking that they're going to reopen as they close, which I think is a mistake in their thinking. And the other ones are starting to really transition in terms of, okay, what is the well, how is my reopening going to work, and how do I actually maximize the ability to pay my bills? I think they're very concerned about. Right now, the stress level in our small business is very high, Dan, right? You're seeing a lot of takeout stuff that's happening. There's a lot of transitioning in the restaurants and the takeout. We've supplied the opportunity not only to help them, and thank you for your help as well, the transition on that takeout to allow the beer and wine to go home. Now the growlers and then the mixed drinks have just been added in. So they're going to do outside seating strategies. We had 3 town council members from Johnston, Cumberland, and Wesley on our call Friday. They're starting to understand that they have to transition their thinking, allow outside dining in a way that they've never had before in terms of local ordinances and resolutions. So I think it's the transitioning of thinking, and I think those who are really thinking about what is fitness going to look like? What is the office going to look like? What is real estate going to look like? It's unbelievable in terms of such a short time frame, Dan, that the entrepreneurs are going to figure it out. But it is going to look different. What is a hairdresser? How is a hairdresser going to operate? How is a yoga studio going to operate? How is manufacturing going to operate differently? If you're not thinking that things are going to change, you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to get caught short.
Now let's talk about the challenges that we've had with a couple of different kinds of businesses. I mean, we have been banging away on the radio side, and you've been diplomatically working on your side. The garden centers, for instance, they seem to be in check. I actually bought a couple of plants this weekend in Woonsocket at one of my favorite local joints. But the garden centers had a long transition time to get normalized. I thought way too much DEM red tape with the governor's office. And then we've got the debacle of, as an example, the Pawtucket Country Club, still with Massachusetts, Rhode Island thing back and forth. Do you think that, notwithstanding her great work on the health aspect of this, do you think that the Raimondo administration has been as nimble as it needs to be for making the decisions for small businesses that need to be made?
No, I don't think so. And I think that we need to be a lot more flexible where we can be. I mean, we're talking about the gyms. Not every gym's the same. And I think we're making a mistake to categorize these things. Oh, this is all fitness. Everything's under the same umbrella. Oh, this is hairdressers. Everything's under the same umbrella. I think that we really need to be flexible inside of these different industries as well. The garden shops is a perfect example. They shifted through their Easter season and right through a lot of their selling season. In a way that they didn't have the flexibility that even in Massachusetts has. So what I think needs to happen is that we need to really do our research outside of our state and outside of our country. Right now, we're actually using our International Economic Ambassador Program, where we're going to start hooking in with companies in Hong Kong, in Israel, in Germany, in Australia, and really talk about, okay, how's your country doing in terms of controlling the virus? And what are you doing in your small businesses that you could say that is not impacting our health? And what are you doing that maybe did impact our health that you had to turn the clock back on? So I think we need to be looking outside of our borders for this. And I think that we need to provide as much flexibility as we possibly can as we reopen.
One of the things that we're just, folks, Dan and I could talk all day, all night about all these things. We only have a limited amount of time, obviously, in the program. And it's so great to be back with original shows. The Latino community has been a concern for you. It's been a concern for a lot of folks. The governor's office actually admitted they had fallen down on the Latino community early. I'm worried about prejudice. I'm worried about discrimination. But I'm mostly worried about the idea that communication and understanding inside the Latino community is not at the level it should be, because their disease is our disease. And their economy is our economy. Share a thought for just a minute on that.
Yeah, we're all tied in together. Like you said, our office, with one of the people that works in our office, has been doing a Spanish translation of every news conference, press conference that the governor's had since we started, to try to really push our way in that information into the Hispanic community. I think that our office could have played even a better role if, in fact, the governor's office recognizes, as leading the charge on that and having the network that we have. I think that a number of things need to happen there, Dan. One is we have to recognize that, people who are unable to work at home and the minority communities, and particularly the Hispanic community, 6 times less likely to be able to work at home as you're doing right now because of the jobs they have. That impacts the virus and the spread of that virus. We should be aggressively really finding out where the Hispanic community is spending its time and really penetrating into that space in a real strong way. We're trying to do that right now. Now that the stay-at-home, has been lifted, I'm going to be strategically out in the Hispanic community, visiting workplaces, visiting areas that are being infected at high rates, letting them know that they need to do, there's certain things they need to do. So I mean, Mayor Laws have decided to shut down streets and encourage people to come out even before the stay-at-home was over. This is a bad thing, and that really, I bring that up only because the Hispanic community got back to me and said, "What are you doing? We're trying to protect ourselves, and we're opening ourselves up." So I think there's a lot we can do.
Here with Dan McKee, our Lieutenant Governor. Look, I didn't get to the Pawtucket Country Club situation. I think this is funny. Look, there are golf courses that need to be understood as businesses, and you guys, you people should know that Dan and I play a lot of golf, but it's not that it's just our hobby getting in the middle of official business and proper focus. They are businesses that are at least at this moment still intertwined in the difficulty on this mass can't go across the line, the travel restrictions governor has introduced, and it has been a debacle. I mean, for instance, the Pawtucket Country Club is 65% of its membership in Massachusetts, right across the line. In fact, many members live on the golf course in Massachusetts because 15 holes of 18 holes are in Massachusetts. Let's not break that whole thing down. Let's talk about it on a macro level. That's what I'm concerned about. Not discipline on the virus, not mask and the nuances and challenges of enforcement on the mask, not the Department of Health's good work, not the hospital preparation, where I think the Monroe administration has done a tremendous job. It's I thought that she should have delegated to you, since you grabbed the small business mantle, the management of this thing, so you could see the nuanced issues that pop up amidst the broad directives. Do you agree?
I think it would have made sense, but I do want to just say, this question's being asked quite a few times of me, and I don't want to make it the issue that we really dwell on, but I think long-term, an important thing for the state is, why aren't I at the press conferences? And the reason I'm not at the press conferences is because I'm not invited. And we just talked about how I've injected myself in a way that makes sense. One of the reasons that you're not invited, you look at what Lieutenant Governor Polito in Massachusetts has done with Governor Baker. Last weekend, Lieutenant Governor Polito spent 23 hours talking about reopening strategies, talking directly to the businesses on behalf of the governor. They run as a team in Massachusetts. They campaign as a team, and then they govern as a team. In Rhode Island, historically, we have seen this over and over again. This just happens to be an extraordinary time, but lieutenant governors don't run as teams. And as a result, they don't manage as teams. And so I'm not part of the governor's team, and she's not, she's not part of my team because of the way that we're elected. So anyways, but to answer your question, yeah, I think Massachusetts is far better served with its executive department than Rhode Island is. And yes, I think that I, for a short period of time, as I indicated earlier in the show, Dan, I thought I was going to be heading this up based on a conversation. The only conversation in a group that we had with the governor, the only conversation I've had with the governor through all this thing was to have Dan Connors work with me to head up the small business issues. And then within 24 hours, that fell apart.
Here's what's happening, though. Your advocacy has been effective. The pressure has been, the pressure of your good work, not your complaining about not being paid attention to, but the pressure of your good work has caused the governor's office to react on a half a dozen situations so far. I just think that she has a moral obligation, not a constitutional, and a leadership obligation, not a constitutional obligation, to engage your office. Long the lieutenant governor's office has been scoffed at, for, pre-COVID in history. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Well, every lieutenant governor has taken on its own kind of signature project, and amongst your utility work, the education work, and the small business work, and Latino outreach have been part of your deal. I only got a minute here, but here's the thing that people need to, I think, understand. unless I'm mistaken, up until press time, you even haven't had a conversation with the governor directly about leadership and on this whole thing and delegation of it. Why?
The only thing I could say, Dan, is because the governance model doesn't really work that way. All right. So like I with you, I don't disagree with you on the issue that it would make sense to do it different. I think that if I was in the governor's seat, I would be certainly handling things differently in terms of who I was including in these conversations. And the second, person second in line would definitely have a lot more information than I have right now. But I got enough information to do what I need to do, which is if any time I need to be governor, look, we have great direct contacts with all the department heads. That's why we're able to run those phone calls the way we run it. I think it's a governance model issue more than a personal issue at all. It really is. Change the governance model. That's the solution to a better government for Rhode Island.
I only got 30 seconds here, and I'll have you back a lot. Give me your 30-second summary of where we are right now, if you can. Impossible to do, I know.
Yeah, right now Rhode Island is one of the first states to actually get into New England to get into a reopening. So I think that is good. Well, hopefully we're going to be able to accelerate that. People really pay attention to the directions that we're getting: the masks, the washing of the hands, the social distancing. And if we're smart about the way that we reopen, I think that we'll be able to be, opening a little bit quicker. But I tell you right now, the state needs to step up and do a lot more than it's doing to support our small businesses. And hopefully we're going to see something like that in the next few weeks.
All right. We'll keep people tuned in. Lieutenant Governor, ltgov@gmail.com. You're getting emails there. And on your official page, Facebook programs are coming up all the time for the Tuesday, Friday meetings, correct?
Tuesday, Friday, and Wednesday night, we'll have the Lieutenant Governor from Michigan and Delaware as my guest to talk about their reopening strategy. So they'll be on the line, and everybody in Rhode Island will see what's happening in Michigan, Delaware, and Rhode Island.
Lieutenant Governor, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you, Dan.
That is a wrap for our first return here to original programming on MyRI TV and Fox Providence and WPRI.com with full Dan Yorke State of Mind broadcast. So happy to be back and working, so to speak. Tomorrow, Blake Filippi, Minority Leader from the State House. He has been really, really aggressive criticizing the leadership for the General Assembly to get back to work. That and a whole lot more. And don't forget to tune in to the radio. We're still live weekdays 3 to 6 on WPRO. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. And thanks so much for tuning in. Good night.